Hello. If this is your first time with Niki and Manu, get ready for a journey full of surprises, laughter, and discoveries that cross borders, cultures, and time itself. Niki is 3 years old, brave, curious, and dreams of being an architect. Manu is 5, loves science, airplanes, and always finds a solution. Together, they travel with their family, and sometimes even back in time. Each story will teach you something new, from journeys through a time tunnel to magical recipes from Grandma. Did you know? There aren't just stories here. There's memory, culture, and love. And now, get ready to see all of our favorite mini-stories, one after the other. Sit back, get comfortable, and let the adventure begin.
Niki was a very special girl, curious and oh so naughty. Since she learned to walk at just 1.5, her poor mom never got a break. One day, her mom needed eggs to cook, and Niki, always helpful and mischievous, ran to the fridge. But instead of bringing the eggs, she threw them on the floor, thinking Mom would catch them like bouncing balls. At the store, Niki never wanted to sit in the cart, no way. She wanted to push it like a big girl. And whenever she saw the toy aisle, she'd run, hug all the toys, and knock down everything on the shelves. One day, she bumped into the store manager, who said, "Now you'll have to take all the toys home." And Niki, smiling with mischief, answered, "Yes." Her mom didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She only bought one toy, but Niki wanted them all. Then one day, Niki saw a giant Christmas tree full of lights. Of course, she ran to give it a big hug. Zap! She felt a spark and fell backward. "That's what happens when naughty kids touch the elf's magic tree," said the manager. From that day on, Niki smiled at the tree, but never touched it again. In preschool, she'd poke her fingers into anthills. All the kids were scared of her. She was a tiny tornado with bows. But Niki did fear one thing: flies. One day, a fly landed on her hand, and even though she never cried before, she burst into tears like never before. Her whole family stared in shock, then they all started laughing. The naughtiest girl in the world was scared of a little fly. Sometimes, even the wildest kids have their fears, and they learn in their own way. What about you? Are you as naughty as Niki? Or more calm? Tell us in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more funny stories with a good lesson. Once upon a time, in a cozy little home, lived a 3-year-old girl named Niki. She had a big heart, and an even bigger imagination. Her birthday was coming soon, and she had a very special wish. But not something you can buy in stores. Let's find out what she asked for. Niki sits in front of a photo frame of her grandfather, with light coming through the window. "Grandpa, can you hear me up in the sky? I want to ask for something for my birthday. I want a kitten. But not just any kitten. One that's a little naughty, with milky coffee fur, and sky blue eyes. Like the sky you're in." A sunbeam hits the photo. A magical moment. The morning of January 24th was sunny and full of joy, but the best was yet to come. Niki stretches and sees something at the foot of her bed. What's that little basket? She peeks inside and finds a fluffy little Burman kitten with blue eyes. Just like in her dream. A magical kitten. She named him Socrates. A few days later, Mom noticed the sausages were missing. Who was the tiny thief? Socrates sneaks into the kitchen with sauce on his whiskers. Giggles ensue. One day, the blue toilet water looked very mysterious. And yep, splash! Socrates fell right in. Niki wraps him in a towel, giggling. And when he chased a butterfly, it rolled off the terrace into the garden. Niki's dad came down to the garden. What happened to Socrates? Watch the next adventure. And that's how a birthday wish turned into a magical story of love, laughter, and furry adventures. Niki looks at the photo and blows a kiss to the sky. "Thank you, Grandpa." One day, he tried to catch a butterfly and jumped from the terrace to the ground floor. Butterfly face screaming in fear. Luckily, Niki's dad ran into the garden and found him safe and sound, right in the middle of a big green bush that looked like a leaf cradle. Herb Greenheart. From that day, Niki's parents placed a glass barrier on the terrace shield and bought a cute harness so Socrates could explore safely. Now, every day, Niki walks in the garden with Socrates on a leash. Blossom Woman walking cat. But something special arrived. Easter. Niki and Manu's grandparents came as a surprise and hid chocolate eggs all over the house and garden. Chocolate bar egg. And the final prize, a giant stuffed duck. On Easter morning, Niki and her sister Manu put leashes on Socrates and Juliet the dog. And the great Easter egg hunt began. Socrates was the fastest. He found one in his wicker cat bed basket, another in a bushy nest herb, one by jumping over the garden fountain sweat droplets, and even one in the fig tree. He found 8 eggs. Party popper cat face. Juliet played too, a bit slower. But she discovered the giant yellow duck hidden beneath the tree roots. A grumpy squirrel wasn't happy and threw hazelnuts at Juliet. Chipmunk. Sparkles, what will happen next? Niki and Manu are getting ready to visit a magical Easter village, where children are welcomed in a very special way. To end the day, they shared the delicious Easter Colomba cake baked by Grandma. Shortcake Old Woman. Wrapped gift. Don't miss the next adventure, Niki in the magical Easter village. Backhand index pointing right. Subscribe and hit the bell.
Do you know what Niki's favorite sweet is? Did you know that the Easter dove was invented by a brilliant baker? If in 1930 Mr. Mata created this bread in the shape of a dove as a symbol of peace.
Hi friends. Today is a very special day. It's Holy Saturday. And Niki and her family are going on a fun adventure. Can you guess where they're going? They arrived at a charming Italian village where Easter is celebrated with joy, laughter, and traditions. There were merry-go-rounds, games, prizes, and so many happy kids. Niki put her hand into a magic box full of surprise balls. Let's see what she won. Wow! A postcard with a pencil. Now it's Manu's turn. What will she get? Manu pulls out a big teddy bear, 2 squirrel plushies, and a giant chocolate bell. Niki and Manu noticed 3 kids smiling shyly from behind the fence. Then, they had a beautiful idea. Niki gives a small doll to a girl, and Manu shares the giant chocolate bell with the group. Happy for having shared from the heart, they went to Easter Vigil Mass at 11 a.m. Easter feels even more special when it's shared with love. Thanks for joining us on this Easter adventure. Happy Easter to everyone.
Niki and her Pasqualina cake. Ingredients: steamed chard, chopped grated cheese and hard-boiled eggs. Niki puts the hard-boiled eggs on top. Ready, bake in the oven for 40 minutes.
Remember when Niki and Manu traveled through Guatemala and explored its colorful traditions? Now they're flying to Asunción, Paraguay, to visit their famous Aunt Carmela. When they landed at the airport, Aunt Carmela was waiting with her muddy green pickup truck, ready to take them on a new adventure. The farm was full of life. There were cows, goats, bulls, and colorful chickens everywhere. But that wasn't all. There were also ostriches, ducks, and geese honking around the wide open spaces. The most magical part? Aunt Carmela's farm was also a rescue shelter filled with 99 cats and 14 dogs. Niki and Manu slept in the brick tower surrounded by trees and the sounds of nature. But their first morning brought a pleasant surprise. Look, Manu! More kittens! Niki cried as she discovered 6 more kittens hiding under some fallen leaves. Wow, now there are 105 kitties! Niki exclaimed joyously. Aunt Carmela shared heartwarming stories of bravery with them. Like the tale of Ben, the heroic bull, and the fearless dogs, Theodora the brave Doberman and her Malinois sisters, Gaia and Zara. One hot January day, some venomous snakes slithered from the roots, heading straight for the tiny kittens. In a flash, the 3 brave dogs sprang into action to protect the kittens. Even though they were bitten, they managed to warn the farm staff and save the others from danger. Niki and Manu learned that the 3 dogs now rest under a great tree bursting with beautiful flowers, where memories of their bravery live on. Each morning on the farm was a new discovery. Hummingbird nests and bee houses dotted the vibrant gardens. Citrus blossoms and bright bougainvilleas attracted buzzing hummingbirds, creating a colorful dance in the air. Dimitra and Koki, some of the lovely dogs, led the herds to graze in nearby fields every morning. The farm was wonderfully nestled at the base of a mysterious hill. Niki and Manu were already planning a Pasquita picnic to explore the mountain, a tradition their family cherished during Easter Monday. What secrets and wonders will they uncover next? Be sure not to miss the following chapter of Niki and Manu's adventure.
There's a magical refuge at Aunt Carmela's farm, with 105 kittens and 14 happy puppies. And on weekends, other children bring food. New friendships are born, all united by the animals. Niki and her recipes: easy omelette for kids. Beat an egg, add a splash of milk, grated cheese, and a sautéed onion. Everything goes in mini pans, and when cooked they go into mini bowls.
One day, Niki saw her dad on a video call with a friend from Australia. Niki peeks curiously at the screen, wondering who her dad is chatting with. Suddenly, she hears a cheerful voice from the screen saying, "Hello, mate." It was Oliver, a 6-year-old boy with bright blonde hair. Niki giggles and whispers to herself, "Hello, mate? Is he talking to a cup of tea?" She finds the Aussie greeting amusing. Then Oliver's dad asks, "Hello. What's your name?" Niki, still laughing, replies, "I'm Niki. But here in Paraguay we don't say hello, mate, because mate is a tea. We say, bye, friend." His eyes sparkle with joy as he shares the joke. Oliver looks puzzled and asks, "Wait, am I saying hello to the tea?" Niki laughs and runs off, soon returning with a box of yerba mate. She excitedly explains, "No. This mate is a tea we drink with friends. It's like coffee, but way cooler." She spins around, holding the box proudly. The screen changes to show a warm image of a Paraguayan family sharing mate under a leafy tree, illustrating the cozy tradition. In Paraguay, drinking mate is a beautiful tradition. Just like in India with chai, or in Japan with green tea, or in New Zealand, where friends drink tea at home. Oliver beams with a new understanding and declares, "Next time, I'll say, hello, and drink mate." Everyone bursts into laughter, feeling the warmth of friendship across the miles. With cheerful waves, they say goodbye, knowing they've shared a joyful cultural exchange. Niki and Manu were on vacation at Aunt Carmela's farm, in the countryside of Paraguay. But that day, the rain was falling so heavily that they couldn't go out to play or take any walks. Niki looked out the window. Manu was drawing. "Manu. I'm bored," said Niki in a sweet voice. "Me too, Niki. Why don't we ask Aunt Carmela to tell us a story?" Manu suggested, sounding a bit tired. Aunt Carmela, wise and always smiling, invited them to sit by the fire. Wrapped in a warm blanket, Aunt Carmela began her tale. "Listen carefully. Once upon a time, in the mountains of Italy, there was an ancient monastery where very wise monks lived. In a flashback to the story, one of these monks, a holy man, walked one winter morning in front of a benefactor's field. He saw several peasants cutting down a large walnut tree. "What are you doing?" asked the monk in a calm voice. "The owner says this tree hasn't borne fruit for years." "We're cutting it down for firewood this winter," replied a peasant. "Leave it alone. I promise you that by next spring it will bear more fruit than ever." "But, you must promise that half will go to the monastery," the monk said serenely. "Deal," the benefactor eagerly agreed. And as if by miracle, in the spring, the tree blossomed beautifully, and then bore fruit. But sadly, the benefactor died before the harvest. "Your father made a deal. Half of the harvest is meant for the monastery," the monk reminded the son gently. Laughing with his friends, the son retorted, "I don't know about any deal. None for you." The monk left quietly, but when the young man wanted to boast about the nuts and opened the barn door, he only discovered a pile of dry leaves. The walnuts had disappeared. Yet, the other trees in the village, where the monastery's benefactors lived, bore fruit in abundance. Thus, the monastery received not only its share, but even more. They were even gifted a donkey to carry the fruit and make oil to distribute among the poor. Back in the farm, with wide eyes, Niki asked, "Did that really happen?" "Yes, my dear. It was written by a great Italian author named Alessandro Manzoni. He told true stories of his time. This story teaches us that keeping promises always brings blessings," Aunt Carmela said. "How lovely! Even when it rains, your stories are always magical, Aunt," Manu exclaimed. "Sometimes, rainy days bring the loveliest tales." Aunt Carmela concluded with a smile. Sign up for more magical stories with Niki and Manu. Have you ever seen a giant crater in the middle of a forest? A hole so big, it looks like a meteor from space crashed into the earth? Join Niki and Manu on one of their most amazing adventures. Right in the heart of the Paraguayan Chaco. Are in a jeep with their parents, heading into a nature reserve. "Niki, why are the trees here so short?" "Manu, that's just how the Chaco is. Look at all the animals. Did you see that armadillo?" "Dad, today we're going to see something that very few people know about. The mysterious crater of the Chaco." What they saw left everyone speechless. A giant circle, perfectly round, sunken into the red earth. "Niki, who made this huge hole? Was it a jumping dinosaur?" "Manu, or maybe, an alien spaceship landed here." "Look at this rock. It only forms when there's a lot of heat, like when a meteor crashes." "Maybe. But it could also have been formed by underground forces." "Manu, I think it was a dragon sleeping under the ground." "Niki." And it woke up with a giant sneeze and boom. Imagination takes flight, and that's the best part of learning, exploring new possibilities. The Chaco crater is real. We don't know exactly how it formed yet. But we do know this. The world is full of amazing mysteries waiting to be discovered. "Manu. When I grow up, I want to be a geologist." "Niki. And I want to find more craters." "And you? What do you think made the mysterious crater? Tell us in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for more fun adventures with Niki and Manu. See you next time, explorers. Today, Niki and Manu have a secret mission. Together with Dad and Aunt Carmela, they're going to prepare a torta del rose to surprise Mom on her party. Niki, excited, exclaims, "Mom deserves a cake with lots of flowers." Manu, a bit serious, adds, "But not real ones, we'll make them out of dough." Niki is very excited to make a cake with lots of flowers for her mom, which will be celebrated on May 10th as is customary in Europe. Dad laughs and says, "Let's make a torta del rose, an old recipe from Italy." Aunt Carmela explains, the Torta del Rose was born in 1490 in Mantua, to celebrate a royal wedding. Since then, it has been the perfect gift to say I love you, to Francis II and Elizabeth d'Este at their wedding. At that time, to celebrate a royal wedding, the baker created a new cake recipe, which he then decorated with real rose petals. He placed it in a bowl with egg white, which he then dipped in powdered sugar. He let it dry for 10 hours and used it to decorate the cake. Dad and Manu read the ingredients listed on the table. Aunt Carmela, wearing an apron, starts the process. First, we mix 450 g of flour, 80 g of sugar, 15 g of fresh yeast, 190 milliliters of milk, 2 eggs, and 100 g of cold butter. Let's get started. Niki breaks an egg and splatters everything. Everyone laughs and shouts, kitchen accident number 1. Dad kneads the dough with Manu. Once the dough is smooth, they let it rest in a covered container. Rest for an hour. Time to draw a letter to Mom. Niki, curious and tempted, tries to taste the sugar with her finger, and drops the bowl. Everyone laughs, kitchen accident number 2. In the next video, we'll assemble the cake and bake it. Don't miss it. Like and subscribe for part 2. Turn on notifications for the final surprise. The dough is ready, and now Niki, Manu, and their dad are preparing to shape the most beautiful cake of all, the Torta del Rose. Dad starts by rolling out the dough into a large rectangle, about 50 by 30 centimeters. Niki giggles as she helps spread a mixture of butter and sugar across the dough, her fingers dancing with delight. It looks like a giant snail. Manu exclaims as they roll the dough tightly into one big roll. Carefully, they cut one large roll and 6 smaller ones, each matching the size of little roses ready to blossom. Laughing, they notice flour smudged on Niki's nose, a funny kitchen accident number 3. They place the rolls delicately in the pan, arranging them like roses ready to bloom. They let them rise for another hour before continuing. Dad mixes an egg yolk with some cream. Niki eagerly brushes the cake, admiring its beauty. Look how beautiful the roses turned out, the narrator says with a proud close-up shot. The oven is hot and ready. They pop the cake in, first at 180 degrees Celsius 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 10 minutes, then at 160 degrees Celsius 320 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 minutes. While the cake bakes and fills the house with its sweet aroma, they create a lovely syrup with sugar and water. The final scene, the kitchen fills with anticipation as Mom walks in, intrigued by the smell. "What's that delicious smell?" she asks, overwhelmed with joy as everyone shouts, "Happy Mother's Day!" Tears of happiness fill her eyes as she realizes the love poured into this special cake. Niki excitedly mentions the next adventure. Now all that's missing is Socrates' birthday in Switzerland. Manu joins in the fun, flying home. With a broad smile, the narrator wraps up, "Happy Mother's Day!" And stay tuned for Niki and Manu's next trip. The special episode Socrates' birthday on May 13th. Cupcake partying face. It was a beautiful sunny day. Niki and Manu went hiking with their dad to a mountain full of flowers, squirrels, and singing birds. "Look, Manu! A squirrel eating nuts," exclaimed Niki cheerfully. Manu pointed excitedly, "And over there, a bird's nest." As the sun climbed higher, Niki felt tired and nestled into her stroller. Manu was lifted onto Dad's back, giggling with delight as she rode high above, seeing everything, even the bright shining sun. By the time they returned home in the evening, Manu was feeling a bit unwell. Her eyes were a little red, and as her parents watched, she developed a fever. Mom and Dad quickly called the doctor, who arrived promptly. The doctor studied Manu's eyes with concern. "Aha! This isn't a virus. It's her eyes, they're badly sunburned." Manu's parents were puzzled. "What? How could this happen, they wondered. The doctor explained, some children, like Manu, are what we call fox children. They have very sensitive eyes that don't close easily in bright light like nocturnal animals like foxes do when they are dazzled. Manu looked at her parents curiously. Am I a fox? She asked. Dad chuckled, you're our little fox, Manu. And Niki, you must be our curious cat. From that day forward, Manu's parents learned an important lesson: wearing a little hat isn't always enough to protect from the sun. Manu recovered quickly, though ever since, she wore glasses for reading and darker ones on sunny days. Protecting children's eyes is protecting their future. Even if the sun seems harmless, its rays can silently cause harm. Let's always keep them safe.
Hello friends! Today we bring you a story full of emotion, tenderness, and a big surprise for Manu, because his 6th birthday is coming up. Ready to join us? Mom Barbara was given a very important mission by everyone, to take Manu shopping under the guise of buying him clothes for summer vacation. But they were actually buying time to plan his surprise birthday party. Manu, Mom, what if we bring something for Socrates too? Mom, smiling. Maybe, but you first, you're going on vacation. Niki, with a mischievous face. I want a cake with lots of colors and mountains of chocolate. Grandma, but Niki, Manu has to like the cake, not you. And knowing Manu, he'll definitely choose the pancake. Niki, do you know what Manu would like as a gift? Niki, I know what Manu wants. She always tells me that one day she'll have a bear and an elephant. That would make her very happy. A bear and an elephant? Where will we find that? So they went to a big toy store in town. Niki knew her sister well and chose a stuffed bear and elephant so lifelike they looked like real things. Meanwhile, Dad was looking for another surprise, something that Julieta, the family dog, might enjoy. Dad, look at this. It's a machine that automatically throws balls for dogs to play with. Perfect for Julieta to play with Manu. So everyone has a special gift this holiday season. The big day would be Sunday, June 1st, although Manu's birthday is on Tuesday the 3rd, so everyone could be there. Niki, this cake smells delicious. Are you sure it's for Manu? Of course, little baker. Everything was ready, the bread cake, the lifelike stuffed animals, the ball launcher for Juliet, and a house full of love. Manu came home and... oh, surprise! Happy birthday, Manu! This is the best birthday ever! Thank you all! Niki. And the cake was bread, just the way you like it. One Sunday, at her grandparents' house, Niki looked at a bag of stale bread with a suspicious expression. Grandma, do you eat this or throw it like a stone? No more throwing away, my love. Today that bread turns into magic. They soaked the bread in warm milk, and that's when the magic began. It looks like chocolate mud. Now what do we do? And now we add all the other ingredients. The crushed cookie, the sugar, the egg, the lemon zest, the vanilla, the cocoa, the raisins, and the crushed almonds, and a pinch of salt. Mix everything together and place in the pan. Bake at 180 degrees Celsius for 40 to 50 minutes, until the cake is firm and golden brown on top. Let it cool slightly before removing from the pan, and that's it. Don't throw away the bread. Make magic like Grandma. Download the free recipe from the blog link in the description, and don't forget to subscribe for more cooking adventures with Niki and Manu. Discover the world, one story at a time.
Manu already know Niki and Manu from their viral stories on YouTube. Stories about history, culture, magic recipes, and for teaching us values like respect, empathy, and courage. But few know something very special. Niki and Manu really exist. They live in a corner of nature in southern Switzerland, with their mom, their dad, a very wise cat named Socrates, and their guard dog Julieta. Aunt Carmela, an artist and educator, created their animated versions so they could tell their stories, without showing their faces but showing everything they are, their dreams, their questions, and their huge hearts. Niki is brave, curious, and dreams of being an architect. Manu loves nature, science, and wants to be a pilot and a geologist. They travel with their imaginations, explore traditions, cook with grandma, and every story you see on the channel has something from their real lives. We just add drawings, music, and a little bit of magic. This channel was born with love, and it grew thanks to moms, dads, and teachers who seek positive, fun, and value-driven content. We invite you to continue discovering the world with us, one story at a time.
What if your story came to life with Niki and Manu? Education, tenderness, and millions of views. Your brand can be part of this magical world. Stories, children's products, clothing, toys, and more. Let Niki and Manu tell your story to the world. Link in the description to learn about our media kit.